Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to get started. We are bringing to you our Claims and Appeals webinar hosted by the Riverside Community College District. My name is Danielle Tran, and I will be the primary host today. In the background, we do have Michael running the chat and the Q&A panel, and we'll go over just that a little bit just to give you guys some bearing on what's going to be happening. So as you would have heard when the meeting started, that this is being recorded. We do record all of our webinars and we post them on our YouTube. So if you have to duck out for whatever reason, or you have any issues getting the content, you will be able to watch this webinar on our YouTube channel at a future date. In addition, we do take that you are staying on this webinar, and so you are agreeing to be a part of this recorded webinar by staying logged on. For our agenda today, we will have a very brief overview from myself and from our local interagency network coordinator, and then we will have our panelist from the Calvet district office giving you some wonderful information. At the end of that, we will have a virtual question and answer panel. And I do want to remind everyone that this is an opportunity for you to have your general questions asked and answered. If you have any personal or specific questions that you would like to have addressed, please go ahead and contact the Calvet district offices separately. We will have the contact information for the offices here. At this time, because this is a recorded webinar, we don't want to give away too much of your personal information. So we do ask that you keep your questions very general. All right, let's get started. So yes, at the bottom of the panel, you should be able to see the Q&A box there, and that's where you will post any questions that you have during the presentations today. So like I said, my name is Danielle Tran. I'm going to do a really quick overview on what the CalTAP program is. The California Transition Assistance Program is designed to inform and connect veterans of all eras to their earned state and federal benefits, and we do that through our 4 pathways: core curriculum, education, employment, and entrepreneurship. That 5th pathway for service providers is just to make sure that they're maintaining their cultural competency, in order to best serve veterans as well. We do ask that you provide your non-DoD email so that you can stay connected with us. That allows us to continue just to provide you with information about veteran benefits, as well as give you access to the webinars that you're viewing today. We ask you register on MyCalvet. Again, this will let you have access to a website that will tailor your benefits to you. And you can go ahead and follow us on social media as well. That way, you'll always stay informed and connected. And then finally, we ask that you provide some feedback once this webinar is done. We are constantly striving to make sure that we are improving our programs to best benefit veterans who are attending them. So here is our page where you can get access to the core curriculum, education, employment, entrepreneurship pathway. You can also get access to our previously recorded webinars. You can do that directly on the Calvet website or going to our YouTube channel. So your California specific benefits, just a brief snapshot on what those are. We have had many webinars about many of these topics. So if you are wanting more information about these benefits, you can feel free to contact me directly. You can check out one of our webinars. You can email CalTAP. You can call our 1-800 number, and we will be happy to discuss these benefits for you in depth. Right now, I just wanted to remind you of what those benefits are. So if you see something that's interesting to you or to a family member, please go ahead and let them know that these are benefits that are available to them. The Veteran Resource Book also provides detailed information on all those benefits that you saw before, and also gives some great information as well, the contact information for our Calvet district offices, our CVSOs, things of that nature, anything that you would need to be successful as a veteran here in California. Then finally, we like to point out that it is a really great benefit to stay informed and connected with Va.gov as well. That's where your federal benefits are going to be coming from. You want to make sure you're staying up to date on information. That's where we get a lot of our information as well. So frequently visiting this website is a great tool to make sure that you always know and are able to make informed decisions about things that are pertinent to you. Again, here's my information. That 1-800 number does give you to a live person at Calvet, and we'll be happy to help you there. Again, you can email me directly, or you can connect with us on one of our social media platforms. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our local interagency network coordinator, Merlene. She is working in the Inland Empire, and she's going to give you a brief synopsis of what she does.
Thank you so much. Next slide. So what California did is we split California into 8 different regions, all of which have network coordinators. What a network coordinator does is have resources available for the veterans that are seeking information, and we provide warm handoffs in our community. As you can see from the map, it's very geographically diverse, and every link has a specialty in their particular area. Next slide. What we do is we provide outreach to the service members. We go to bases, installations, we go to libraries, we go to community colleges, and we reach out to veterans and their families. We make referrals and we work directly with the established service providers. That said, I have contacts at VA Loma Linda, all the clinics, the county, state. We also assist with local emergencies. If you remember the local fires we've had recently, a lot of people lost everything. You'll find a local interagency network coordinator on site to let you know where to go to replace your documents, such as your DD 214. Also, we provide leadership and advocacy to the local communities. You'll find all of us at various different community meetings and forums advocating on behalf of our veterans. Next slide. So here's just a brief overview of some of the agencies we have connections with. Of course, EDD and many of the state benefits are county veteran service offices. We have contacts within CalVet and our healthcare clinics. We have contacts at every vet center, every clinic, anywhere that you would need a resource or a warm handoff, you will find a link being able to have a contact there to give you the warm handoff you need. Next slide. This is my contact information. Should you have any questions or would like to reach a different link in your area, go ahead and reach out to me directly and I will go ahead and forward that information to you or answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Marlene.
No
All right,
problem.
we're going to turn it over to Melina. She is going to go over VA claims rules and appeals.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Melina Anker Youngberg. I am the district manager for the Calvet San Diego district office. And of course, there's 2 other district offices besides San Diego, one in Oakland and one in LA. Next slide, please. And what we're going to discuss throughout this presentation is VA service-connected disability compensation, the 3 elements to obtain service connection, the VA claims process and prescribed forms, the VA decision reviews, which began in February 2019, the appeals to the Board of Veterans Appeals, and the Vso Poa role, and the CalVet district offices. Next slide. So VA service-connected disability compensation. This is a monthly monetary benefit administered by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs because of service-connected disability, which means a disability that was incurred while you were serving in the military. And the service-connected disability is based on current severity of the disability or disabilities accordingly, and this falls under Title 38 CFR Part 4. So when you claim a condition for service connection, the percentages assigned are based on the severity of that condition, and how the VA provides a percentage is based on Part 4, which breaks down every disability, the severity, and if it's like mild, it'd be a 10%, moderate, and then of course there's all sorts of ranges of motion and everything, and that's how they come up to accordingly apply the overall rating. There's no statute of limitation to file a claim. So anyone at any time, you can be out of the military for 40 years, and that would be the first time you file your claim. That is fine. We've had a lot of veterans that have waited about that long to actually initiate a claim for service connection through the Department of Veterans Affairs. Now, compensation is based on a fixed rate published by the VA. So there is a monetary rate that is established for each percentage that is assigned. For like 10% is 154, 100% is 3,000, and 57 a month. So it's a fixed rate. Additional benefits for dependents at 30% service connection rating or higher. Dependents are a spouse, a biological step adopted child, and a child that's in school and is still a dependent, or a helpless child, and disabled parents. And the service-connected disability compensation is a non-taxable income, so you do not report taxes on service-connected compensation. Next slide. Service connection is under Title 38 USC 1110 and Title 38 CFR 3.4b. And the basic entitlement exists if the veteran has a disability incurred in or aggravated by active duty military service that is not the result of willful misconduct or abuse of alcohol or drugs. The three elements to obtain service connection is the injury or disease occurred during active duty. There's a current diagnosis of that disability, and there's a link between the current disability and injury, complaint, or disease during active duty. And there are some exceptions to this rule when it becomes a presumptive condition. But these are basically the three elements of obtaining service connection for an injury that you feel occurred while you were serving on active duty. Next slide. Now, under Title 38 CFR Part 3, there are three principles for service connection. How do you obtain getting service connection for a disability that occurred while serving in the military? It can be either a direct service connection, which means that that injury or disease occurred while you were serving on active duty in the armed forces. There's an aggravation of a pre-existing injury. What this means is you had a disability, or let's say a back problem going into the military, but it was not severe enough to keep you out of being enlisted. So you were healthy enough to be accepted by the military, and then during your time of serving, or because of the duties that you had to do while you were in the military, like the heavy packs you have to wear, the PT that you constantly have to do, maybe your job, you have to do a lot of heavy lifting, things, or you did something while you were on the ship, slipped and fell, and you re-injured it, then that would be aggravation of a pre-existing injury. So you had going into the military. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, there's presumptive service connection. So it would be, for example, for our Vietnam veterans that were either boots on the ground or within 12 nautical miles from the coast during the Vietnam War, they were exposed to Agent Orange. Well, those disabilities, of course, did not show up for a number of years. And once they are diagnosed with, let's say, prostate cancer is the most common one that we are seeing, then you file a claim, and even though it's not documented that it occurred while that veteran was serving in the military, it's considered a presumptive condition due to that exposure of Agent Orange. So therefore, the VA will grant service connection based on that service during the Vietnam because of being exposed to Agent Orange herbicides. So that's an example of a presumptive service connection. And next slide. And principles of service connection. This is direct service connection under 38 CFR 3.303A. Service connection connotates many factors, but basically means that the facts show evidence that establish that a particular injury or disease resulting in disability was incurred coincident with service in the armed forces. Each disabling condition shown by a veteran service record must be considered by the basis of the places, types, and circumstances of service as shown by service records. So there has to be documentation that this injury occurred while you were serving in the military in service trait records, service personnel records, in order for it to be considered as a direct service connection. Next slide. And principles of service connection for aggravation of a pre-existing condition, which is under 38 CFR 3.306A. And what a pre-existing injury or disease will be considered to have been aggravated by active military, naval, or air service, where there is an increase in the disability during such service, unless there is a special finding that the increase in disability is due to the natural progression of the disease. So what that means is, there are some injuries, some conditions that it's just over time it naturally progresses. But then there's the circumstances that occurred in the military that actually expedited that progression in that disease. So therefore that would be aggravation, because if that injury or that circumstance did not happen to exacerbate the condition while in the military, then it would not have become as severe as it did while they served in the military. It wasn't just a natural progression with age or something like that. So, next slide. And the principles for presumptive service connection is under 38 CFR 3.307A, and it's a chronic, tropical, or prisoner of war related disease, a disease associated with exposure to certain herbicides, agents, or a disease associated with exposure to contaminants in the water supply at Camp Lejeune, which is listed in paragraph 3.309, will be considered to be incurred in or aggravated by service, even though there is no evidence of such disease during the period of service. So for a full list of the disabilities that are subject to presumption, you can go under 3.309A, 3.317, and 3.320. Next slide, please. The VA claims process and prescribed forms. Now, during this, there were a lot of changes with the VA in the last few years, and now they will only accept a claim on a prescribed form. Before this was enacted, you could write a claim basically on a napkin, and the VA would accept it as you were filing a claim. But that changed, like I said, a few years ago, and they are prescribed forms. And if you do not file a claim on one of these prescribed forms, the VA will not process your claim. So we want to make sure you are using the proper forms when filing for service connection or any claim through the USDVA. And the original claims, veteran has not submitted a disability with a claim with the VA before. Veteran may have filed an education claim or a VA home loan guarantee, but no explicit claim for service-connected disability or non-service-connected pension. And then there's claims for increases, claims for new issues. So you filed a claim, you're already service-connected, and now you have a new disability that you would like to file for. The veteran is already service-connected, like I said, and also for disabilities is claiming for increased evaluation. So you're service-connected and that certain disability has become more severe. So you have the right to file for an increased evaluation due to the worsening of that condition. The veteran is claiming for new issues or disabilities, claims for disabilities. And these are the VA claims prescribed forms. The claim form for the application disability compensation is the 21526EZ. And this is for original claims. This is for increased claims. This is for new issues or claims for secondary to an already service-connected disability. So you can file a disability that is caused by the primary service connection, and all those issues go on this prescribed form of the 21526 EZ. Next slide. And this is the disability process. The VA receives the form, they order compensation and pension examination, and this is similar to like a forensics exam. So that examiner is there to examine only what they have been told to examine by the VA for claim purposes only. The VA reviews all evidence once it's received, then it goes to a VA rating specialist, and this rating specialist adjudicates based on current regulations and then promulgates a decision on the claim. Next slide. And when you're submitting a claim for service-connected disability compensation, you want to gather all evidence needed to support the claim. So like private treatment records from your doctor, chiropractor, psychiatrist, etc. So you do not have to gather medical evidence if you're being treated through a VA healthcare. That is available electronically by the adjudicators on the benefit side. But all private treatment should be gathered and provided with the claim. You want to request for a copy of the appropriate prescribed form, and you can contact our office or contact your nearest CVSO. You complete the required form, do not leave anything blank, and you submit the claims form along with supporting documents such as DD 214, private medical records, marriage birth certificates, etc. And you report for any and all VA compensation and pension exams. And then from there, it's just time waiting for that decision. Next slide. So the VA changed their appeal process. That was called the Appeals Modernization Act of 2017, and it was enacted into law in February 2019. And what this did is it changed the appeals process. And we still have legacy appeals pending, but if you file a claim nowadays and you do not agree with that decision, you are not satisfied with that outcome, then you fall under the Appeals Modernization Act. And there are now 3, what they call lanes to choose from in order to respond to that decision. And it's a supplemental claim, which this option is if you have evidence. It requires the evidence to be new and relevant, and the VA will assist in gathering evidence. So what new and relevant means is that this evidence has not been provided before, has not been considered by the VA on the previous claim, and it pertains and supports the issue that you are filing the supplemental claim on. Now, the higher level review, this is called a direct review. It's done by a decision review officer, and this option, you are not allowed to submit any additional evidence. The new review will be conducted by another VA adjudicator, which I mentioned, which is the decision review officer. And the evidence cannot be introduced into the record. So it has to be evidence of record, and that you feel either the VA did not consider in the decision, there was an error in law or fact based on that evidence of record, and you are calling a clear and unmistakable error. So therefore, the higher level review is probably one of the lanes that will be least used when you respond to a decision, just because it's our most difficult lane to have a decision overturned, because everything's based on evidence of record, and we have to either say evidence was not considered or there was an error done by the VA in the previous decision. And of course, now there's the appeal to the Board of Veterans Appeals. There's 3 lanes under the appeal to the Board of Veterans Appeals. There's the direct review lane, where you are just saying you feel the evidence or record supported the decision, and you don't want anything but a judge to review the evidence of record. Then there's the evidence submission lane, which allows you to submit supporting evidence within 90 days from the date that you file to the board. And then there's the hearing lane, where you can request a personal video virtual hearing before an administrative law judge. Next slide. And again, there's prescribed forms to respond to a decision and file under the Appeals Modernization Act. And the supplemental claim is the 200994. Is the claim to reopen a disability claim that is either denied by the VA within a year from the decision or over, and now have to file a supplemental claim. Claim to reconsider a disability, like I just said, that was previously denied, or from within 1 year from the VA notice of denial. So remember, you do have a deadline of 1 year from VA notification to file a supplemental claim in response to that particular decision. It requires submission of new and relevant evidence, one addressing the VA's reason for denying the claim. So you want to provide evidence and a statement as to why you feel the VA should have warranted a grant, and then also provide new evidence with that statement. Next slide. And the higher level review is on a VA form 200996. This is a request for a new review of an issue denied by a VA within the past 12 months. It cannot be used past the 1 year mark from the VA notice of denial, and no new evidence or new argument can be submitted. It's just point out, like I said prior, error, fact, or law by the VA. So if you are past that year deadline from the date of the notification of your decision, you cannot submit a higher level review. You would have to submit a supplemental claim or a board appeal. Next slide. And submitting a claim for service-connected disability compensation, you use one of the prescribed forms. Yeah, the VA form 210966, which is an intent to file. And what that means when you submit this form is you are letting the VA know that you intend to file a formalized claim, and that protects your effective date and allows you time of up to a year to gather and submit the formalized claim. Then, of course, like we spoke about, the 21526EZ, the 200995, and the 0996, you all either can mail to the Department of Veterans Affairs in Janesville or fax to Janesville, or you can file online if you are submitting the claim by yourself without a representation. And of course, if you go through a CVSO or a CalVet district office, we will submit the claim to Janesville on your behalf. Next slide. Of course, that's what I just talked about. You have an online option to file your claim, and there's the link. You can create an account with the va.gov, log on using My Healthy Vet account, and log on using id.me account. Next slide. And of course, submitting a claim for disability compensation, the VA forms can be downloaded from VA's public website. If you need assistance in filing a claim, always consider appointing a veteran service organization. It is very helpful to have a representative instead of trying to navigate and follow the progress of your claim on your own through the USDVA. Be familiar with your county veteran service office. They are the greatest resource for claim submission and other veteran-related information. And like I spoke about before, if you need additional time in gathering evidence, consider submitting an intent to file. And this ITF will be considered as the effective date of disability compensation. So when you complete a claim using VA Form 21526EZ received within 1 year from the VA's receipt of that ITF, then the VA will grant the effective date back to the date of that ITF intent to file. But please note that the ITFs do not work for our decision reviews. So if you file a supplemental claim, you cannot file an ITF prior to protect that effective date for that supplemental claim, higher level review, or our board appeal. And you can call the VA, your VSO or CVSO if you appointed one for the status of your claim. So again, it's always good to assign a representative to assist you with this process, so you have a direct point of contact. And next slide. And this is the new decision review process. So Veterans Benefits Administration, the claim is received, that establishes the effective date. Is date the VA receives that form. That's when your effective date is set in place. They have a duty to assist you. The VBA decision improved the notice. They explained why they made this decision very thoroughly, what favorable findings they did find, even if they had to deny. So it's very pertinent that you read over that rating narrative. Now you have a choice of responding to that decision if you did not agree with either the percentage or the disability was denied. Of course, you have like we spoke about, the higher level review, which is same evidence. They have about 120-day average goal. Right now we're seeing them about 2, 3, 4 months process time. Then you also, or you can choose the supplemental claim, and that's also 125-day average goal. The supplemental claim is where they also have a duty to assist the veteran in obtaining supporting evidence, whereas the higher level review does not. Or you can appeal to the Board of Veterans Appeals, which is a notice of disagreement, which goes directly to the Board of Veterans Appeals. And of course, there's 3 options, as we spoke about before. There's a 360-day average direct docket goal. If you request a hearing, that average docket goal is actually increased extensively. There's no statement of the case or VA Form 9 for those of you who know of our legacy appeal process. And then once you receive a decision from the Board of Veterans Appeals, you have 120 days from the date of the board's decision, if you still disagree, to file to the Court of Appeals for veterans claims. And you can always, at any time, respond with a supplemental claim with new relevant evidence, and except for appeals to the court. All filing deadlines are 1 year. So remember that 1 year from date of notification that you need to choose the 3 lanes, the higher level review, the supplemental claim, or the appeal to the Board of Veterans Appeals. Next slide. And now under the new AMA, there is only one appeal, even though it says Appeals Modernization Act, and we have supplemental claim and higher level review under the AMA. The only appeal under AMA now is the board appeal notice of disagreement, because that now goes directly to the Board of Veterans Appeals, and it's under Title 38, 20.201. And what constitutes an appeal? An appeal of a decision by the agency of original jurisdiction consists of a notice of disagreement submitted to the board in accordance with the provisions of 20.202 through 20.20 form. And again, the prescribed form is a 10182 board appeal notice of disagreement, and it must be filed within 1 year from the VA's notice of decision. Next slide. And under Title 38, 20.203B, the place and time of filing a notice of disagreement, except as provided in paragraph 20.402 for simultaneous contested claims, a claimant or his or her representative must properly complete notice of disagreement with a decision in the agency of original jurisdiction within 1 year from the date the agency mails the notice of the decision. The date of the mailing of the letter of notification of the decision will be presumed to be the same as the date of that letter for purposes of determining whether an appeal has been timely filed. So just don't wait until the last moment to file if you want to file an appeal. Next slide. And this is the process for a board appeal for the direct review lane. The VA decision is received. You disagree with it. You file a notice of disagreement. The BVA reviews it, and then BVA makes a decision. Next slide. This is the evidence lane. When you choose the board of appeal and want to submit additional evidence in support of your appeal, you file again the notice of disagreement after the VA decision. The additional evidence must be submitted within 90 days from when you file the notice of disagreement. The BVA reviews it and makes a decision. Next slide. And this is the hearing lane for a board of appeal. After you file the notice of disagreement or response to your decision, you request a BVA hearing plus 90-day evidence submission. Once you have a hearing, it allows you to submit additional evidence. And then once the hearing is held, the BVA will review and provide a decision. And the hearing lane is the lengthiest process for the board to complete a decision. So just keep that in mind when choosing the hearing lane. Next slide. Board of Veterans Appeals, Board NOD, can be mailed to the Board of Veterans Appeals in Washington, D.C. It can be faxed, or a VSO POA have ability to submit the board appeal electronically that goes directly to the board. So there's another reason that you should have representation when you are submitting a claim or an appeal through the Department of Veterans Affairs. Next slide. The Veteran Service Organizations, which are VSOs or Power of Attorney, POA, so you'll hear those acronyms quite a bit. And under Title 38 CFR for 14.629A, recognized organizations shall file with the Office of General Counsel for each person it desires accredited as a representative of that organization. So we have to be accredited with the Office of General Counsel before we are allowed to advocate for our veterans. The Title 38 CFR 14.629B1, accreditation of agents and attorneys. No individual may assist claimants in the preparation or presentation and prosecution of claims for VA benefits as an agent or attorney unless he or she has first been accredited by VA for such purposes. So if you're not going through a VSO and you have obtained an agent or attorney, make sure that they are accredited with the Office of General Counsel. Next slide. The role of the VSO POA is to assist the claim submission and appeals representation. We're recognized by the Office of General Counsel, and we do not charge for services. No VSO charges for services. The state service organizations, such as CalVet, we traditionally assist only those who reside in the state. There are exceptions to this, as we do have veterans who move out of the state but want to maintain CalVet as the representative, and due to the digital age and digital claims, then we have the ability to still assist them even though they no longer live within the state. But traditionally, we assist those who reside in the state of California. course, you have national service organizations, and they are AMVETS, VAV, VFW, PVA, American Legion. And then, of course, you have your county veteran service offices, and they have representatives who are not only accredited with CalVet, they're also cross-accredited with the other national service organizations. So if you, within the state of California, and you go to your county service office and you want them to assist you with a claim, generally they will assign CalVet as your representative. But if you do not wish to have CalVet, then you can choose, DAV, VFW, AMVETS, and they will be also cross-accredited to be able to assist you when you wish to have those other national service organizations as your representative. Next slide. And this is the form to appoint a Vso Poa. It's a VA Form 2122, and it has to be signed by the veteran and VSO accredited representative for VA to acknowledge, valid for VA claims and appeals purposes only. So it's only for VA use, not anything outside of the VA. This is to allow an advocate under that organization to be able to assist you with the claim process, guide you through the process, speak to the VA on your behalf in case there's issues with your claims and/or appeals, and of course, counsel you and represent you before the USDVA. Next slide. And CalVet district offices. Our offices are co-located with the VA regional office buildings in Los Angeles, San Diego, and Oakland. And there is one small office in Rancho Cordova that's under Oakland's jurisdiction. Most of you work initially with CVSOs accredited with CalVet. If they are not yet accredited, 4 to 6 months period, their claims are submitted through our office for review before submission to the VA. CVSOs normally reach out to our district office if a claim or decision review is stuck beyond the VA suspense date, and our district office staff will be the ones to review and prepare for scheduled hearings before the BVA judges and the VA predetermination or due process cases. So if you file through a CVSO and CalVet holds POA, don't be surprised when one of our representatives calls you in regarding your claim. Next slide. And these are our locations for the 3 district offices for Oakland, LA, and San Diego. And since COVID-19, March 2020, each district office has different availability and/or schedules. And due to the VARO federal building regulations, as the county starts opening and restrictions start lifting, which San Diego, as we know, has lifted most of the restrictions, but we are still, the San Diego district office is still by appointment only. And so if you want to come to the CalVet San Diego district office directly for claim assistance, please call our public line, which is shown there, the 619-400-0070 to make an appointment and to be assigned to one of my representatives to assist you. And if you end up in voicemail, please leave your name and telephone number so we can return your call. Please be very clear about your name and your telephone number so we can reach back out to you to provide assistance. Next slide. And these are the jurisdictions. Oakland has the extent of all the counties in California. There's San Francisco, San Mateo, Butte, Monterey, all the ones that are Tulare, Kings, those clear to the Oregon border. So you can see they have the largest amount of counties under the Oakland district office. Next slide. And then of course the LA district office jurisdiction is like the middle part of California. It has Inyo Mano, Kern, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Ventura, Los Angeles. And a bigger part of San Bernardino. So between LA and San Diego, we share San Bernardino, but LA has the extent of San Bernardino under their jurisdiction. Next slide. And under San Diego jurisdiction, which is my jurisdiction, we have Orange, of course, San Diego, Imperial, Riverside, and as I mentioned, a very small portion of San Bernardino. So for those who live in San Bernardino, it will probably be rare that you will be under San Diego District Office. Next slide. That's all I have, and thank you everybody for attending today's presentation.
Thank you, Melina. We do have quite a few questions in the Q&A box, so I'll ask that you go ahead and pop that open, and Michael will take over moderating that portion of this presentation.
Yes, thanks a lot for the information, guys. Really appreciate that. So yeah, we do have a good amount of questions to go over. So just starting with the first one here, the first question here is, when a decision is made that the person wasn't aware of for a lower rating and they found out beyond the normal time to dispute it, can it still be disputed?
Yes, you can still dispute it even though you're past the year deadline. You would want to file a supplemental claim and provide evidence showing the severity of that condition from a treating provider.
Okay, and the next question here is, I had a condition that a claim was denied citing pre-existing injury. However, at the time, part of my medical records from the earlier years of service were missing. Now that I have proof of the injury while on active duty, I plan to submit the new proof of injury. Will I be entitled to retroactive pay backdated to my original claim date?
No, it will not go back to your original claim date, unfortunately. It will only go to the time you file the reopen claim, because now since you're again past that year deadline, even though you have current medical records that shows that the condition occurred in service, which were not part of the record prior, you still have to file a supplemental. And when you file that supplemental, that will be your date of claim.
Okay, the next question here is, I have a pending supplemental claim since December 2020. Is this a normal time period?
Since December 2020? No, that's not a normal time period for a supplemental claim. So you need to reach out to the district office that you reside under. And if you have CalVet as your POA, or reach out to your CVSO to assist you, because if it was CalVet POA, we would want to find out why there's a delay, because that is unacceptable time frame.
Do claims for sexual trauma get reviewed differently?
No, there's no difference there. There's no difference in the way the VA reviews a sexual trauma case. There's just a difference of evidentiary review because of the situation of a sexual trauma case.
Okay. And the next question, it says, what are the percentages for approval of disability claims? For example, what about PTSD and tendonitis claims and claims for Agent Orange listed conditions and treatment provided by the VA? So maybe there's like a resource or something that he can be directed to.
Yeah, you can actually, if you want to look at the percentages that are assigned for the certain disabilities, you want to go to the 38 CFR Part 4, and that breaks down every disability, and it has a percentage assigned next to each disability and the severity that disability, like let's take PTSD, for example. It starts at 0, then it goes 10, 30, 50, 70, 100. And if you look under the Part 4, under the mental health conditions, it will break it down and let you know what it takes to get to each percentage. And that's for all the disabilities.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so the next question here is, are there a list of agencies that will help or do legwork for the veteran? As mentioned earlier, it's very convoluted. I've submitted tons of paperwork, buddy letters, family letters, etc., only to be denied every time and not been notified, and these claims just drop out and then told to basically start over.
Well, that's where a representative like ourselves, like CalVet, that's where we would be able to assist you. So if you don't have representation, or maybe the service officer, whoever's representing you, you're not satisfied with, I know it can be a very convoluted, frustrating process, and that's where we come in as your advocate to try to alleviate and help guide you and assist you through this whole process. So please reach out to the CVSO or CalVet or a national service organization if you haven't assigned one, because that's definitely where our role comes into play.
The next question here is, can as a VSO represent a spouse of 100% deceased vet?
Yes, we can.
The next question here is, I have a 10-year period of missing or lost medical records. This has hindered any attempts at successful claims. What can be done?
In instances like that, where you have missing service treatment records, what the VA will accept in lieu of those is if you have buddy statements from people who witnessed whatever you're trying to claim, lay statements from family members, spouses, friends outside of the military. Those can be used in lieu of those service treatment records.
Okay, the next question here is, my claim has been on the docket of appeals for over 2 years. Is that normal, and what can we do to expedite that?
It sounds like you fall under the legacy appeal, unfortunately. And yes, that is actually a normal time frame for a legacy appeal. The only way to expedite an appeal that with the Board of Veterans Appeals is if you're over 75, if you are in severe financial hardship, or you're terminally ill. That's the only 3 reasons the VA, the board, will expedite an appeal.
Okay, the next question here is, I filed a claim in May 2021. I have not received a disposition. I have called the VA several times and no answer as to why my claim is pending. What do I do when my claim reaches 1 year and 2 weeks? Do I have to file a new claim?
No, you don't have to file a new claim. If it's been pending that long, I would recommend reaching out to CalVet or your local CVSO so that representation can be assigned, and then the VSO can look into your claim to determine why it has been delayed so long and try and get it moving forward with the VA.
Okay, so the next question here is, can I submit evidence for a claim I submitted while it's going through appeals in front of a judge?
If it falls under the legacy appeal, yes, you can. But there are exceptions. If you filed a board appeal, the 10182, that you can only submit evidence within 90 days of submission of your 10182, or within 90 days if you requested a hearing after that board hearing was held.
Okay, and this next question here is, are there any disability for Camp Lejeune presumptive water contamination? I think it was that resource you listed earlier that had the disabilities.
Yeah, it's under 3.309, and that will list the disabilities that the VA has accepted as a result to be being exposed to that contaminated water at Camp Lejeune.
Okay, so the next question here is, what is the difference between using your service and a lawyer specializing in VA claims?
Well, we're a free service. We don't charge. A lawyer, they charge a fee, and there's a fee agreement between the attorney and the VA. And if I'm recalling right, I think some attorneys will take 20% of the retro, some 30% of the retro. And usually an attorney will not step into a case until it is at the Board of Veterans Appeals or the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims.
Okay, and then this one we kind of answered earlier, but it's for, the percentages for claims like PTSD, tendonitis, and Agent Orange. Where did you say that was listed at?
It's under 38 CFR Part 4.
Okay.
And you can also Google it.
The next question here is, if we use a VSO, what is the normal time frame to get a decision in our claim?
Using a VSO does not play a role on the time frame of when a claim will be processed, because it's not the VSO that is the adjudicating party, that's the VA. So the processing of a claim, the time frame, all falls under the VA, and it just depends on workload and backlog. And right now, we're the average time frame for a VA to process just a compensation claim is about 3 to 6 months at this time.
Okay, thank you very much so far. I know it's been a lot of questions. We have about maybe one or two more here that have came in. So this next one here is, do I have to designate CalVet as my representative on VA form?
No, you do not have to use CalVet as your representative. It's your preference. It's the veteran's preference on who they would like to assign as the representative. But so you can assign DAV, VFW, AMVETS, American Legion, PVA. But remember that if you're assigning a VSO, NSO, that particular representative has to sign that 2122 to accept representation.
Okay, and the next question here is, when I have my case heard, are there any key words that I can use to help my case?
That would be on a case-by-case basis, because there is sometimes certain verbiage that is required for the VA to take a serious look at the case. So that's really a case-by-case basis. And if you want details on that, you can call the CalVet district office that you fall under, and we can discuss that further in detail with you.
Okay, so the next question here is, when we were talking about PTSD and tinnitus and things like that earlier, what is the likelihood of getting those approved, getting those type of claims approved?
There's a good chance of success, but again, it's a case-by-case basis. So it depends on evidence. And when it comes to something like tinnitus, it also depends on a medical opinion. So really, there's a lot of successful cases, more so than not, but it's, again, remember, it's a case-by-case basis for every veteran.
Okay, the next question here is, if I make a new claim for a totally different ailment, will it have any impact on my current unrelated service-connected rating?
No, it will have no impact on your current service-connected rating.
All right, well, it looks like we're about done with questions for right now. So if you guys have any other questions or your questions wasn't answered, please feel free to reach out and contact one of the people in our webinar today. I'm going to turn it back over to Danielle.
Thank you. There were a few questions in the chat, and a few of them were just what to do if they have issues with their VSO or if their VSO isn't responding. I did answer one in the Q&A, and you are welcome to choose a different VSO. I believe there's a form that they would have to fill out to transfer, to make sure that you can have all the information, all the records transferred. Is that correct, Melina?
Yes, that's correct. They would have to complete a new 2122 with that new VSO.
Okay, great. I know there are some questions that we likely missed, like Michael said. Again, please feel free to reach out to us directly. You can contact Melina for more information. I did send the PowerPoint in the chat again. If you haven't been able to get that downloaded, please email us at caltap@calvet.ca.gov in order to get that emailed to you. I know there are a few phone-in listeners right now who probably can't see much of what's going on, but please feel free to reach us and we will email those out to you. Again, it's caltap@calvet.ca.gov. We have reached the end of our presentation, so if you guys just want to bear with me for a few more minutes, I do want to go over a few more things before we close out. I want to bring to your attention, again, the webinar survey. We did have some feedback about the closed caption, and again, that's great feedback that we do need, and we encourage you to go ahead and fill out that survey in order to make sure that gets up to our higher ups. We are always open to feedback and improvement, so please take a moment to fill out that survey. You should receive it in an email from Eventbrite, and Michael can go ahead and send it in the chat again. We do have a few more webinars coming up for April. We are finalizing our webinars for May, and you should see those live on our Eventbrite very soon. But please check back. You can always call or email us if you would like more information. And then finally, again, for those of you who can see the screen, you can email us at caltap@calvet.ca.gov, or you can give us a call on our 1-800 number. That's 1-800-952-5626 in order to ask us any questions, and we'll make sure to get you connected to the right person. We thank you guys for joining us today and for taking the time out to hear this great information. If you would like a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, please email us. This webinar was recorded and will be available on our website generally in about 2 to 3 weeks. It just depends on how long the operations team takes on getting that processed. But we look forward to receiving your feedback, and thank you guys for joining us.